Thank you so much, Jess. Thank you guys for having us, and thank you all for attending. My name's Dunnigan Mata. I'm here on the public sector team at Keeper Security. Right now, I'm a federal account executive here in the United States, but since I've been here at Keeper, I've covered state and local government all across North America, and all 50 states and territories, Canada, and everywhere kind of in between. And the core problems we help organizations solve, both in the public, private sector, and on the consumer side, start with password management, privileged access management as a whole for the organization, which is what kind of IT initiatives are typically focused around today, and secrets management, connection management, and we'll talk about what that all looks like, the problems we solve as we go through this presentation today. And this is really the root and the foundation of Keeper, where we started in 2011. 68%, and these numbers run from 60 to 80, depending on where these reports are coming from. This is kind of the number we've settled on of the total cyber attacks and data breaches that we can credit back to weak and reused passwords. This is a staggering number, and not a lot of organizations do anything about it. This is seen as kind of an IT issue, not necessarily an issue for the whole organization. And as we go through this presentation today, we'll kind of unpack the fallacies around that. So these are some of the statistics. No one's really left off of this, and probably every one of you, if not, you know someone that has experienced a ransomware group, some type of a data breach, perhaps an insider threat, and there are a number of ways that Keeper helps prevent things like that. Passwords, again, being the culprit, we help facilitate secure password management from an enterprise perspective so that users can begin using a strong, unique password for every website and application that they log into. Ideally, they're using two-factor authentication for things as well and not pressing phishing links. If you can do those three things, your organization is in excellent shape from a cybersecurity perspective. If you are not doing those three things, that is where the foundation of your zero trust strategy, your cybersecurity strategy should start. Password management, privileged access management, two-factor authentication, don't press the phishing links. And Keeper helps with all of those problems. The impacts of cybersecurity attacks are widespread. Again, I'm sure you all have experienced this, heard stories of this, attended webinars where someone was telling a story. You've heard an FBI person get on and talk about their experience helping facilitate a response to a ransomware group like a Lockbit or one of the other many ransomware groups out there, and what they have to do in order to help facilitate the retention of data to get that data back, to unfortunately pay a ransom if that is what is ultimately deemed necessary. These often, again, tie back to weak and reused passwords, stolen passwords, many of which are just sitting out there on the dark web, out there for sale, or just openly out there on the dark web. And we'll help you get visibility into that. We'll help users maintain and practice password hygiene, both at home and at work, with our solutions here. The biggest problem that organizations face that Keepers has set out to solve, most employees right now have terrible password hygiene. They use some version of the same password for everything they log into. Some people have been doing this for decades. It's like their dog's name and like their birth year. It's not anything too complicated. It's something that could be found with some light social engineering. Keeper has a password generator that can generate strong, unique passwords up to 100 characters. That can be ciphertext looking passwords. They can be passphrases, which are quickly becoming kind of like the federal standard here in the United States, and are pretty popular because you can actually try to remember it. The password generator we have by design generates wild looking passwords that should never end up on the dark web. And if they do, you should know that whatever application or website or whatever that password is for has probably had some type of a cyber incident. You should investigate that personally. Your organization should investigate it, and Keeper will give you that visibility. Without an enterprise password manager, that visibility is nil. You will not have the ability to do that if your employees are storing passwords in their browsers, if your IT team's using an offline, open source shared vault of some kind. Um, every employee needs a password manager, or it's it's chaos. They might have, and we've heard stories about this, a lot of people, one of the more common places we see, passwords written down on sheets of paper that are stored on their desk or just slapped on their keyboard. This is happening everywhere from K-12 schools up to the federal government of the United States, everywhere in between, all across the world, the piece of paper with the passwords on it. Every application needs to be protected as well. Keeper does protect machine-based credentials with our secrets manager, giving you the ability to manage passwords, rotate passwords on demand, and schedule password rotations for things like Active Directory accounts, local network accounts, database and server credentials, amongst a number of other demonstrated password rotation use cases. And those rotations can all be done from a user-friendly interface that is, consumer level friendly, kind of relative to the alternative, which are typically, very technical solutions that are often, kind of antiquated, more CLI based user interfaces. And if you prefer a CLI interface, Keeper does have that with Keeper Commander SDK, and we'll go into that. And the security adoption paradox that we talk about often here at Keeper, you have all these different solutions, and going back to what I just said a few moments ago, if you are not starting with password hygiene, with two-factor authentication, and with just constant training on phishing resistance, not pressing links, not downloading things without really thinking about it, you in the public sector are big targets. You are constantly being targeted. Key organizations are targeted all the time. And if your employees are not trained, if your employees are using that the dog's name and their birth year as the password, that's not great for your organization, and that is a big, big, big weak link in your supply chain, your cybersecurity kind of supply chain that you need to fix. And Keeper will assist with that. And zero trust is a big initiative here in the United States that has come down from the federal government that a lot of organizations have an initiative to solve for and have a strategy around how they're going to achieve that. In layman's terms, and how you could explain this to executives that may still not be, because a lot of executives are still not kind of um, privy to what this really even means. You are not who you, this is as simple as it is. You are not who you say you are until you prove otherwise. Everyone is a threat until they prove otherwise. We do not trust anyone until they authenticate and prove it is them. Every time they go to log into anything that is in our networks, that has data that we need to retain, that is a privileged account of some kind, and kind of everything in between. And we practice zero trust here at Keeper Security. We are a zero trust solution provider. In addition to zero trust, we are also a zero knowledge solution provider, meaning at no point does Keeper have access to anything. Everything that is stored in ciphertext in probably a local, depending on where you're at, data center in the United States. We have two data centers, the United States commercial and United States GovCloud for our FedRAMP and StateRAMP authorized portion of Keeper. We have Canadian data center and Japanese, European, Australian, and quite a few others. Our documentation is published in over 26 languages now. So we are a global company. We do help public sector all across the world. I just and my team focus here in North America, but we do work all across the world. And now I'm going to transition. I'm going to show you around and kind of show you a little bit about how Keeper works and the assignment that you ultimately are giving your employees when you deploy Keeper Security out. And so I'll share my screen and we'll jump right in. And this assignment that we talk about often is to clean up your password hygiene. And when you start this, and the organization, kind of going back to the point one, that you do not have visibility into this, what is a huge risk for your organization, unless you're using a password manager at the enterprise level. Once this import is complete and everyone, all their passwords are consolidated into this Keeper vault, ultimately then as an organization here in the Keeper administrative console, which I'll pop open here and I'll bounce back and forth between, you will now have visibility into the overall password hygiene of your organization. This is something that a lot of our customers here in the United States are using to submit to assessors, depending on if an accreditation body or something like that, a compliance requires them to have some type of a password hygiene. Like law enforcement has CGIS, CALIA at the national level if they're an accredited law enforcement agency. Cybersecurity insurance providers in many states are starting to require password management solutions in order for you to continue to maintain coverage. So we have reports that you can then produce to present to organizations like that to show them that you are in fact practicing password hygiene as an organization. And that would start with an import, importing your passwords wherever they are now. Again, there's not typically a uniform place that we see organizations that are currently not using a password manager. There's not really a uniform place where people are actually keeping their passwords, but I kind of mentioned some of the common ones: piece of paper on the desk, keyboard, under the keyboard, wherever it may be, in the browser, not secure, in a open source software that they've downloaded themselves, or a consumer product that they're storing work-related credentials in. Um, any of those strategies are not a winning strategy from an organizational perspective. So you would start with your import. You can import your passwords directly from browsers, directly from existing password managers, and from CSV files if you have them maybe in Excel, which is another place people sometimes keep passwords. And after that import is complete, you will immediately start auditing your password hygiene. You'll stack rank your passwords weak to strong, and you'll change anything here that is not green, anything here that is reused, with the goal of getting yourself to 100% on the security audit score. We do also have this same view from an organizational perspective. So you will see everyone's individual scores, the overall aggregate score, which is just an aggregate of all the individuals. And what we're looking for here ultimately is for this category to be full, nothing in reused, nothing in weak and medium. All strong, all unique to get your organization to 100%. This report can be exported, and this is the report that typically is shown, to an auditor, to an assessor, to whoever this may be relevant for, and this may be beneficial to your organization to show that you are in fact practicing password hygiene. And you'll see total quantities here. The zero knowledge that I mentioned again, that we do not break as a part of anything we do here at Keeper, does extend up to administrators. So you will see the total quantities of weak and reused passwords that belong to each user. And you will also be able to have visibility into if credentials are breached and out there on the dark web. We maintain zero knowledge here, which is very unique. There are a lot of places that can tell you your passwords are compromised. Most of them are sharing data with third parties, breaking zero knowledge in some way or another. We maintain this. This is one of our 7 utility patents. These are double hashed and compare with hash versions of stolen passwords. We have a database that's been being compiled since we were founded, essentially, over a decade ago. That database has over 100 billion stolen credentials in it. That grows by over 1 million daily, which is insane. And so this is always working in the background. If something new ever appears, it'll immediately pop up here in this breach watch, and admins will have the ability to see that as well, the total quantities of breach credentials that belong to each user. You have robust reporting capabilities with Keeper. These are events that could be sent to you via alert. These can come to you via text, email, or webhook. A lot of our customers will send these to like a Slack or Teams or an internal messenger of some kind, maybe a ServiceNow. You could choose a recipient, and breach is a common thing you would turn on here. Typically after this initial password hygiene cleanup assignment is kind of well underway for your users, you would turn on the actual alert. You can also integrate with SIM solutions to log all these events that may take place. Breach is just one of 180 plus security events that you can monitor with Keeper. Nearly everything that you do as an end user in an enterprise that has Keeper is an auditable activity event by design. Failed login, sharing, policy changes here in the admin console, and you have role-based policy with Keeper. So you have the ability to control, going back here into the vault, what I can store in these vaults. You see by default, there's quite a bit that can be stored beyond logins to basic websites and applications. You may be storing database and server credentials, again, which can be rotated with our secrets manager, service accounts, Active Directory accounts, SSH keys, software licenses, files, which has become a very large use case for a lot of our customers, because we do have the ability to use Keeper as a file sharing solution. You can send a device-specific time-sensitive encrypted link directly from this vault, where the recipient of the link does not need a Keeper license in order to view that file. So a lot of use cases that you can take advantage of. Maybe a finance team finding a more secure way with Keeper to share payment card information. Amongst the laundry list of security certifications we have is PCI DSS certification. So we see that as a pretty common use case where finance is sharing that in lieu of perhaps sending that in plain text in an email, calling someone and sharing that over a phone, whatever the alternative may be. Um, Everything that is shared, anything again that is done, so sharing that type of event would be an auditable security event that can be logged, that can be sent to you as an alert, and it is a permission. So if it's not appropriate for me and my role to be able to do something like that, you can configure that 100%. And again, password management is the name of the game here. The other thing that you can kind of accomplish with Keeper is connection management. Our connection manager allows you to facilitate secure remote connections into endpoints. That product is agentless and does not require a VPN, allows you to connect directly using 8 protocols with a ninth very shortly on the way. RDP, SSH, VNC, Telnet, Kubernetes, SQL, MySQL, Postgres on the database side, and then you have remote browser isolation coming very, very soon from us here at Keeper, where you're going to be able to, from this vault, launch a direct connection into a browser that is on some other machine, where you can securely browse. If you click on a link and it is malicious and downloads, whatever it may be, malware of some kind onto, that virtual machine, your machine is unaffected, which is really nice. It's kind of one of the key benefits that everyone can understand of that remote browser isolation. Obviously, there's a lot of use cases for it, and that can be used for internal things like internal portals or databases or what have you, that you can remote directly into. And all that can be facilitated directly here from the vault, which is really powerful. So quite a bit can be done for managing credentials, managing connections, managing your secrets, your machine-based passwords. Going back to the sharing, you have a bunch of different ways you can share with Keeper. Again, all permission-based. That's not appropriate for me to share in my role or at all. You can prohibit that. You can even create it so that these vaults are view only. Some of our customers, again, we work with some of the most secure organizations in the world. Some of our customers want these vaults to essentially be view only. They cannot, create their own records. They cannot share anything. All they can do is view. You can make it so they can view and use passwords without even seeing them. You can mask passwords entirely. So there's quite a bit you can do. I would say the majority of our customers in the public sector, this is something that is new. They're looking for something that is user friendly, kind of all their users can figure out and use. So we can balance that. Whether you're looking for user friendliness, you're in K-12, you're in higher education, it's the first time you're doing this, you have a lot of non-technical users. This can be used by consumers. It is a consumer-friendly product. It can also be used by systems administrators. It's typically the preferred solution by systems administrators, more technical folks, DevOps folks, IT folks that can use this to manage kind of everything that they have from a privileged credential standpoint. And then your end users typically at every organization have 20, 25, 30 passwords at least that they need to do their job, that they can begin practicing password hygiene with and efficiently logging in. So I'll be um, showing you that really quickly, and then I'll kind of open the floor to questions here. So two quick things I want to show you. In addition to being able to store passwords and generate strong, unique passwords, these Keeper records can store two-factor codes. They can also store pass keys, and we do support a lot of passwordless technology. We have a laundry list of integrations. SIM, you saw one of the other key integrations that I didn't mention yet that I'll finish with here as I show you the login. Um, SSO. SSO is huge. You do not need a master password to log into these vaults. If you wanted to, you can, and this is typically the preferred method of deployment with Keeper, you can integrate with any SAML 2.0 compliant identity provider so that you can set up single sign-on with Keeper. That whole login process, those boundaries, those controls are respected. If you have a PIV card, a CAC card, or some type of two-factor authentication tied there, all that will be respected again in the vault. And then I'll quickly show you a login, and then I'll pass it back to Jess here. So we'll log into this Dropbox and it'll autofill my username, my password, and my two-factor code for this website. And then when I go to change this password, if I was completing that assignment that we talked about, Keeper will assist me with changing this password. And again, this is kind of a solution that's privileged access management for everyone. So this is something that every employee will be doing. And then obviously for your more advanced use cases that I've mentioned here on the call, we can assist with that. And I'll talk about that here shortly. So Keeper will assist with the change. Say, yes, I want help. Current password, I'll press this little hover lock in the old password box, and then it's going to spin up a new one. It's going to use our password generator here and my administrator, and this is one of the many policies that you can put in place for your users. My administrator has a domain complexity requirement here for Dropbox that calls for a minimum 50-character password. So I'll spin the dice one more time, press the button, next, save it, say it was successful, and I'm good to go. And then I'll complete that, process for all my weak reused passwords, anything that's breached, and then you can start to take advantage of some of your more advanced use cases. To learn more, you can go to www.keepersecurity.com. Contact us. We'd be happy to walk you through the solution, go more in depth on KeeperPAN. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Dunnigan. What a great presentation. I love that demo. That was so cool to see that in action. And I know you were condensing a lot into a very short period of time. We're just going to sneak in a few audience questions because we are running a bit short on time here, but worth it to get into that demo in such great detail there. I want to start with this one here. Does your product work with Linux?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Linux, Mac, and Windows, absolutely. And
Okay, those
mobile, yeah, mobile as well. We have mobile applications for iOS and Android, browser extensions for all major browsers, desktop app, command line, and a web vault. And all of those can be deployed to your machines via group policy, Intune, things like that.
easy yeses across the board. Okay,
Mhm.
let's see if I can throw you more of a curveball this time. How about this one? Oh, well, okay. Do you offer a free trial for testing Keeper?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that's a common, especially in the public sector. This typically needs to be sold to a lot of stakeholders. I highly recommend it, and yes, you absolutely can. If you work with me or one of our team members here at Keeper, we'll walk you through a proof of concept, really as much or as little as you need from us to help you guys get this deployed to your organization.
Okay, you got two A+ answers right off the bat. I'm throwing you a longer question now. Are you ready? We have Keeper customers in our county already, and it is now our county central, or excuse me, and now our county central IT wants to deploy Keeper. Is there a way for existing Keeper customers to maintain some level of autonomy while central IT could still audit everything that happens across the county? So this kind of plays into what you were talking about with the different customization needs in terms of access. What do you got?
Yeah, absolutely. So our enterprise admin console, and just for the sake of this presentation being brief, I didn't go too deep into it, but our admin console allows and is really purpose built just for that. So you could deploy that out. You can integrate with multiple identity providers if that exists within the county, and you can delegate administrative permissions. So just the way that they manage their current Keeper account, where they can add users, audit activity for their users and such, that can be done through our node system, where essentially each node operates as its own independent entity. And then ultimately the root node, the parent node, where the county kind of central IT would sit, can audit everyone, but they'll still maintain some level of autonomy in their subnode with the inability to edit the other node. So, the police department have their own node, and the clerk and the, courts and so on and so forth. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. I love it. We've got lots of easy yeses today. What a great positive session this has been. We're getting close to the end of time. I want to sneak in just two more quick questions. One is, give us. I love when people ask this because there's a lot of people out there that they're sorting through and choosing the right solution, the right platform for their needs. And so for somebody out there that is maybe in that process of sorting through, if you had to narrow down kind of a key unique or two for Keeper Security, what would that be?
um, Unique. Okay. So our security is our bread and butter differentiator to start. Organizations that care about security, we're the most secure tested and audited password security platform out there. We are very functional. We are very user friendly. We're consistently top rated, and we can do kind of quite a bit under one roof. So consolidation is kind of the name of the game at a lot of these organizations. We allow you to solve multiple problems at your own leisure too. You don't have to start with everything we offer all at once. You can kind of grow into them as those become problems you want to solve. So that's a big thing we do.
Perfect. That is definitely a good unique. That's a standout. I love that. Now, okay, my second question ties right into that. If you've just won over the entire audience with your amazing presentation and lovely key uniques, which I know that you have, what would be the follow-up step for somebody out there that is thinking to themselves, Keeper sounds great, I got to learn more, or I'm ready to jump in?
Sure. So if you just want to learn more and kind of read into it, our website has a ton of information. There's a ton of videos out there on all the different places you can watch videos, reviews to see. And then when you're ready to speak with us, www.keepersecurity.com. You can contact us directly, and someone from our public sector team will get in touch with you and take you through everything. Make it more obviously unique to your situation. Yeah, and
Yeah,
we'll help you with a trial if you'd like to do that.
perfect. All right. Well, Dunnigan, thank you so much for being here with us today. This has been so much fun chatting with you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Jess.